Hello and welcome to another episode of the Music Community Podcast. I'm Doc Bizzle, here with my co-host today, Dan Drumstone and Random Girl Singing. And we've got today with us our special guest, genius musician, composer, arranger, piano player, and even singer sometimes, 88-bit music. What is going on? How you doing?
Hello, glad to be here.
How's everybody doing?
Genius
Dan, Stephanie,
confirmed.
you guys good?
Yeah.
I got my coffee. We got Trevor here. I think we're doing great.
I'm looking at them now and they look like they're doing great. So.
Now, and Trevor, are you cool with us calling you Trevor on stream?
Call me whatever you want, man.
All right, cool.
Well, not
I like
within
genius.
reason.
I like genius.
Yeah,
That's a
genius.
little
That was a nice touch, Doc.
That's
Listen,
a little weird.
I just, even before we start asking questions, I want to prep everybody. If they don't know already who 88-bit music is, this guy, Trevor, has done a whole lot of creative stuff on Twitch. He's an incredible piano player and arranger. He does serious music, but every once in a while, he'll get goofy and silly with stuff and really clever and creative. And he created for me an on-hold music jingle that absolutely is probably a fan favorite on my channel. Anytime I need to take a break, I play it, and dude, people go nuts. They're like, who is this guy? Where does this come from? So that kind of stuff, you guys, seriously, I know we do a plug at the end telling you to go follow our guests. I want to say it even on the front end. You got to be following 88-bit music and see what he's doing. He's up to really, really cool stuff.
His improvisation is on point too. It's like, this guy is in his element, in the zone all the time. And I
don't know about all the time, but sometimes, yeah.
It's pretty entertaining to watch you. I mean, you're very impressive the way that you on the fly come up with ideas and your musicianship too. I remember I tuned in one time. I remember when I was really blown away by you. You were literally playing the piano and singing in perfect pitch without even monitoring the keyboard sounds.
Yeah, I forget that I did that. I changed the title of the stream to something like, I can't even hear the piano. So like I set it up so that I was playing the keyboard but couldn't hear the sound of it at all. I couldn't hear a single note of it, and I kept singing along with it. With only what I had played before I muted the piano in my own headphones for reference.
You couldn't tell. You really couldn't tell.
Now, I never actually went back and listened to see how it sounded, so I'm just taking everybody's word for it. I don't tend to go back and watch much of my own stuff.
That is
typically
really cool.
Yeah. So
tell us about your musical journey. Like when did being a serious musician, when did that kind of come into play for you? Were you really young?
It's kind of been the only option since I was 10. So I started piano lessons when I was 7. My parents are both musical. My dad is very musical. He was a piano major for 1 year before switching to psych. So I started lessons when I was 7. I was okay at it, sort of decent student. I'd learn quickly. I wouldn't practice at all. I'd basically just kind of I'd read the music in the lessons, and sometimes it would go well, other times it wouldn't. But where it became clear that music is what I was going to do is I started composing when I was 10, and my dad remembers it distinctly. He was listening to me play this piece, and he said, what is that? Is that something you're working on for your lessons? I said, I wrote it. And he says,
your old Trevor voice, I wrote it.
Yeah, he remembers it distinctly, and he knew literally that second that's what I was going to do, because for a 10-year-old, it wasn't bad. And I just stuck to that, kept writing more things, started writing chamber music maybe when I was 12 or 13. So I had a woodwind quintet performed by members of the La Mirada Symphony, which is where I grew up. So I was in the Whittier Daily News when I was 13 with an article saying boy genius writes a woodwind quintet for doopy doopy. It's really corny. You should read this article. Well, and it has some blatantly inaccurate things in it. It's really funny. But so that started writing orchestral stuff when I was maybe 15 or so. Didn't have anything played by live orchestra, but it wasn't bad. I would just sit at the computer and write in Finale all the time. I was just constantly working in Finale. My freshman year of high school, I wrote the summer after my freshman year of high school, I wrote an entire marching band field show of Zelda music.
Wow.
We're
Dude,
talking like a full
awesome.
full half hour field show or something like that. It was a train wreck. It never got performed, fortunately.
Aw,
But
I was gonna say, was there color guard?
well,
waving the
we tried
flags?
to make it happen. The marching band director was on board for it. The problem was Nintendo's sketchy about that stuff. So what they basically said when we called and like kind of worked our way up the ladder trying to get permission, what they basically said was like sort of off the record, like, you can probably just go ahead and do it. But they were also saying it won't be legal. So we're sitting there thinking like, well, we don't want to get sued, so let's just not. So anyway, there was that. I'm getting off the rails, but composing, went to school for composition. After high school, I went to Biola University for composition undergrad, and then University of Cincinnati for a master's in composition. So that is what I have, and I'm now putting my degrees to work, dressing as a hot dog and playing keyboard on the internet.
And you have a time machine too.
I don't have a time machine. That is my ancestor, Trevorius J. Portugal.
That is true.
I can't say that. I can't say that with a straight face. Yeah,
We can't hear it with a
that
straight face, so it's okay.
No.
Most of the things I do on Twitch can't be done with a straight face. So
You brought up your parents, and that was something that I one of the coolest things I've seen on your stream is I think it was your anniversary and your parents surprised you at the door.
They've done that
And
multiple times.
That
Yeah.
encouragement and like your brother was there. I'm like, that's such a huge deal.
yeah,
like,
I sort of brought
backing.
them into it early on. So I told my parents about the Twitch thing like a month in, and at the time I was like almost embarrassed about it. I'm like, I'm doing this kind of weird thing. It's hard to describe. It's pretty cool though, I swear. You can watch it if you want.
It is bizarre.
Oh, it is. It's very hard to describe. When
If someone
you're
just
telling
came
somebody for
into
the
your
first time.
house not knowing what you were doing, out of context, streaming would be a very straight, especially your show. No offense.
It would be strange even if they did know what I was doing. It's just it's a weird thing.
How did they respond? How did they respond to it?
Well, like it kind of made some sense to them because I've been working in entertainment in various capacities for years. And so I encouraged them, I think, to go with the names 88-bit Dad and 88-bit Mama on Twitch. So that's what they are, and they'll pop in. My brother, on the other hand, all I told him when I encouraged him to start watching it was I told him it was a family-friendly channel and that I hoped he would keep it PG-13, please. So he made his screen name Keep It PG-13, please. That was sort of his shtick that he went with, was like making fun of the fact that it's family friendly, which I can appreciate that.
And how long have you been streaming? When did you start?
Just over a year. So I started, I believe, November 2nd, 2016. So a year and 2 months, basically.
Very cool.
Very cool. Things have gone really well.
Yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind start, so I should talk about that real quick. I got partnered in 5 weeks because, and I owe it largely to a few people. One of them being Richie, Richie, because she found me the very first time I was streaming. I had like 2 people watching, and they were basically just there, like sort of helping me figure out tech stuff, and I was like playing this or that, or like sight reading a little bit, just sort of screwing around because I didn't know what I was doing. She stumbled into it. I guess she was specifically looking for people to feature as her musician of the month, which is a really cool thing that she does, and sort of sums up the way that Richie is. It's more about like the community for her than about herself. And so she asked me that day, the very first day I ever streamed, if I wanted to be her musician of the month. And people were telling me, "Oh, she's a big deal. This is huge, man." And so I said, sure. My third time streaming, Chase Eagleson rated me with like over 100 people, and there's a clip of me like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool!" Like I had no context for what was happening. So yeah, it was a very fast start. It was not typical, and it's mostly because I had help from people who, for whatever reason, enjoyed what I was doing at the start. So
Now, had you been watching Twitch prior to that? How did you find out about it?
My very first experience with Twitch was Twitch Plays Pokemon. Do you guys know about that at all? It was this thing that happened on Twitch where somebody like set up a game of the original Pokemon that was controlled by the viewers, just like typing in commands, and it was hilarious. It was just the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. One of my friends told me about it, and I'd like kind of check in on it once in a while, and I got a sense of the culture, like what people were doing. Is very bizarre to me. But there was that, and then my buddy Dan on Twitch, he's Danimal Sounds. He does like variety game streaming, and when he lived more out my direction, we would hang out regularly and like eat pizza and drink cheap beer, and he'd play like Mario Party or whatever, or like sometimes I'd play it with him, but I would stream with him. Essentially, I was there as he was doing it. And fun fact, the whole idea of like making up songs for new followers and new subscribers or whatever, though there was no affiliate then and he wasn't partnered, so it was just new followers, I did it on his stream. This was like well over a year before I started streaming. Wow. So randos, because he had an upright piano in his apartment, so random people would follow him, and I'd just like go over to the piano and like start making up just the dumbest songs, really, really awful songs. So I had some experience doing that before I started my stream.
Yeah. Speaking of pianos, when you started, you were on a keyboard, and
yeah,
you have a new toy that is just beautiful and gorgeous.
Yeah, I have multiple new toys as a result of Twitch, entirely as a result of Twitch. I now have, it's just mind blowing. I'm looking around the room. I've got a Yamaha P255, which is a really nice digital piano. I upgraded to that like 2 months into streaming. I did a donation goal for it. It was like $1,300, and I got it in a couple weeks.
That's awesome.
Mostly because of a few people that were just really generous. McCheez-It was a secret Santa for me that year.
That's the best name ever.
He anonymously donated, and then I accidentally said his name. He wanted to be anonymous, and I said I ruined it. Well, and how cool is it that I got to meet that guy at TwitchCon? That's
amazing.
It's mind blowing. But anyway, so that, and then currently what I'm sitting at right here in front of me is my Yamaha G2 baby grand piano, also paid for with donations. And then I've got probably the fanciest melodica in the world. Not like the one and only, but the model that's basically the fanciest with a pickup. Got that with donations. A nice DSLR camera, like all these things that there's no way I could afford those without donations through Twitch. So, I mean, it's very much like, well, you guys all know this, but it's very much like NPR or like even like old school patrons, right? It's people that
That's
like
true,
they like what you're
Absolutely.
doing enough that they will make it happen through like crowdfunding, essentially, which is just so cool.
Do you guys remember that, like on PBS when like it was the pledge drive time? It was always like,
Oh yeah.
put Sesame Street back on. What's
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
Why do I have to listen to this guy, do the pledge drive?
But it is
it's
actually
great.
so important. I've newfound respect for them doing things like that, because how else do you do it?
Exactly.
The money has to come from somewhere.
Isn't
like
that humbling though? I mean, when people, even the ones that aren't able to give like huge amounts of money, like for anybody, for me, I'm gonna be honest with you, for me to pull $5 out of my pocket, it's like, I'm gonna skip lunch today. $5 is a lunch. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
$20 is like a tank
I'm in
full
the same
of gas.
boat.
So it's so humbling. To me, it is anyway. When somebody says, "Man, I love what you do enough. I want to support it," and they make that donation, it's like, wow.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Humbling is a very good word, because it even like I've gotten messages of people saying, I can't afford it, but I would if I could, and I'm like, it's never about that, But
don't, because actually, the biggest things people can do, and I keep telling them this, and they probably don't believe me, but I really mean it, is viewing, like watching is the most, and interacting. So like watching, interacting in the chat, and then telling people about it, right? Because the more people that you get in there, as you get the sort of like exponential growth of viewers and followers and all that, the more people there are who can easily afford subbing. So even as far as the money side of it goes, the more people you get watching, the better you'll do.
No, you
overall.
seem to be a kind of person who really likes to follow your own passions and interests,
Yes.
So when you are doing this crowdfunding type stuff, do you ever find it hard to navigate that line between doing what you want or what other people expect you to do? Or do you find that those patrons are just happy to give based on what they've already enjoyed?
Oh, very much the second. I've had virtually nobody donate and then have like an air of entitlement or expect me to do this or that because they donated. That's almost never. I mean, maybe I can think of like 2 people that have been that way. It's pretty much never. I put some pressure on myself to do this or do that because they donated, but they never put that pressure on me. I think actually the way I put that kind of pressure on myself is less connected to things like donating. It's more connected to like, what is the right way to do this? So for a perfect example is, for the longest time, I let people request songs numerous ways. The main one being sheet music, because sight reading is my niche. That's my main thing, is just reading sheet music, any kind, any genre, whatever. But I would also allow them to send in YouTube videos, and I'd like listen to it a bit and sort of play it back by ear or jam with it or whatever. And it took me the longest time. I mean, it took me the whole first year of streaming to realize I don't want to do that. I don't enjoy it. Like it's a big pain in the butt. At like 1 out of 10 times, it'll go really well and it'll be fun and I enjoy it. But I was only doing it because so many people do it on Twitch. And therefore, if I can't do it, I'm doing something wrong. There's something wrong with my stream. And it took me so long to realize, no, like if I don't enjoy it, the audience is not going to enjoy watching me do it. Yeah. So really, there are certain ways that as a streamer, you have to be selfish for the sake of the stream. Your enjoyment of what you're doing on stream has to be first and foremost. In a sense, I mean, you still need to care about other people more and all that. But if you're not enjoying yourself, it's not going to be a good stream. That's just how it is.
And you're not going to want to come back and do it more and build that community if you're not enjoying it.
So listen up. It's new streamers. Listen up. This is incredible advice coming from somebody who's been doing it for a while, who's partnered, who's successful. Yeah. Listen to what Trevor's saying. This is great advice to new streamers.
Yeah. And what changes did you make that kind of turned you around to enjoy it more?
Yeah, I'd say if there's something you just plain don't enjoy on stream, don't do it. Now, there's an exception to that. If there are like certain basic stream maintenance kind of things that you don't enjoy doing, get over it and do them. That's different. Like if your stream, for example, is just looking awful and there are simple ways you can make it look better, do them. So that's one way that I've sort of failed on the other end of the spectrum, is thinking like, well, I don't want to deal with that. I just want to focus on music. When $80 got me a much better webcam, and now like the room shot looks so much better. That should have been high on my priority list, and it wasn't. So that's different from like, I don't want to play YouTube requests because I don't enjoy it. Yeah. So that's one big change that I made. Trying to think what else. I mean, I'm constantly changing the stream. I'm sort of tinkering and seeing if I like this better or like that better. Trying to think of like massive changes that I've made. Well, one, this is a whole can of worms that would take hours to discuss, but switching to a point system for requests. It used to just be total free for all, just anybody request whenever, like just put it. We had a queue set up. My moderator Stolke made a website for submitting requests, but it was just a free for all. So I finally made a point system where you get points either just by watching over time, so anybody can theoretically request, or you get points for following, subscribing, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a very big turning point. I think overall it's been better that way. But I hand out points like they're Halloween candy for free for like various things. So it's not.
Even though you do that, though, it does add a value. It solidifies that the song request and your time and your talent is valuable, even though it doesn't require cash from somebody. I love that you do it that way. I'm inspired by that.
That's incredibly important to make it very clear. This has a value. It might not seem like it to you, but I've put in tens of thousands of hours working on this. I do it professionally for this company. I do it professionally for that company. I still have, $20,000 of student loan debt from getting a master's degree. Like this has value very much the same way that pretty much anything else does. It just might not seem like it because it's not like a chair you can sit in. It's not some physical thing that was it's not tangible in the same way that other things are. But clearly it has value, since some of the richest people in the world are musicians, right? So that makes it very plainly obvious. It has value in the eyes of the world, right? And in the eyes of especially American culture, it's huge, right?
Oh, I was gonna say, I want to put a choir behind you right now that's just like, preach.
I know.
Yeah, you're preaching, man, and it's so true.
Yeah. Well, and I have no problem doing it. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about the value of stuff like this. Like one guy who came into my stream the other day, I don't think he meant harm by it, but I think it was just yesterday, saying like, $5 is a lot for a request. Like that's really expensive. You should lower the price. So I first of all, I kind of had to correct him and say, well, it's not really $5. Like it's, you get points for free for this and that and the other thing. Right. And you get that many points just for following, right? Like, so just, there are all kinds of ways to get the points. But not only that, but $5 is not expensive when you consider everything that's gone into what is happening there. And the fact that in any sort of like professional industry context, it would be worth drastically more. But that's not what I'm thinking of most on Twitch. I just want to entertain people and play for them. But there is still, but behind all those thoughts, there is still a value to it.
But then on top of that, when we get into the thought of what Twitch is, which is definitely community-driven content, they are as much as a part of creating the show what it is.
Yeah.
As you are. So, the way that you're setting that up to reinforce viewer loyalty and ensure that the type of people who are helping to generate and guide the content are people who are going to know you, people who have been there. And that kind of helps to weed out that sort of mentality, I think, too.
Yeah. And to be honest, I just don't see that mentality that much. I'm almost alarmed by how positive the atmosphere has been on my channel, and I think a lot of other music channels, the atmosphere is very positive. I think sadly that just seems to be a key difference between the creative side of Twitch and gaming. No, I don't mean that as an offense to people doing gaming. I know numerous people that are doing it and they're awesome, but a lot of the time the community is sort of foul, and I just haven't seen that much on the music side, which I don't know. There could be a lot of different reasons for that. I maybe it's just that there are less people. It could be that simple. It could just be that because there are less people, you're going to have less toxicity. I don't know.
I thought of this before. I was chatting with someone at TwitchCon actually about that, and I kind of compared it to like a sports arena. If you're watching a football game, gaming at its core is competitive, right? Since we were little kids, we're always like trying to beat your brother or sister or cousin, whatever. And music, if you go to like a huge concert at an arena, it's joyful and
it's a celebration.
Yeah,
it's communal. Yeah, absolutely.
And when someone was asking like, well, why is creative just so nice? And I was like, well, it attracts nice people, I think, or they're not there for that like competitive vibe. Maybe.
Yeah, because that's really interesting. That's getting me to think. Like in almost any gaming context, there's sort of like an element of construction and destruction at the same time. In the sense that, like, say it's speedrunning, for example.
Yeah.
Because I've friends that do this. If you are striving to make the new record, then that also means you're striving to bump someone else out from that record, which that's not bad. Competition's great. I've no problem with that. But that is sort of indicative of something going on with it that's not the case in music. Nobody needs to be bumped down a peg. Nobody needs to be the loser in music. It's just creation. It's nothing but creation. But that said, you can still have an air of competition and competitiveness. And for me, that's actually been the biggest struggle on Twitch, is comparing myself to other streamers and how well they're doing with this. How well? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I admit it in a heartbeat, because I'd want to warn people against this, and like really, new streamers especially, really train your mind against that mentality.
I concur. The benchmarking to people who do things similar to you, or viewing don't do and all that stuff.
Well, and my stream has just been bizarre when it comes to things like the numbers and statistics, so I have to just throw them out of my brain. I mean, I have less people viewing on average when I stream now than I did like 3 weeks into streaming. Actually, I would usually, when I first started, I'd usually have like 80 people or so. And these days I have 60, but I've had weeks where I consistently have 100. It's just all over the place. And so if you measure how well you're doing based on things like that, you're going to be really frustrated unless everything is just easy breezy for you and your numbers keep going up and everything's delightful and cheery and sunshine, which isn't going to happen. So
no, I think that's a really good point. And I also think, getting back to why it might be a more positive environment or a welcoming environment, creative and in music, finding a broadcaster that resonates with you, that you jive with, that you like watching, is already very personal, because it's very much not just about the content being created, but it's the person too that you enjoy. And then add
more
that
than anything,
music on top of that. Music's very personal. Add that on top of that. I feel as though you're just going to find the people who really, truly love you and want to support you and weed out the rest.
It's 99% about the person, actually. And that's something that I just keep forgetting because, when I get into my more like negative sort of toxic ways of thinking because like things aren't working the way that I want them to, I'll be thinking awful thoughts like, well, but I'm so good at this and I'm so good at that, so why wouldn't people want to watch that? And the moment that you think something like that, you kind of have your answer. Like your attitude sucks, right?
Yeah.
When I say you, I'm talking about me in this case. I'm being very, very.
This is very real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I don't have any problem admitting it. I think that's just human nature. We've got our little ugly things going on. And actually, Twitch is a great way to learn those ugly things that you have going on. So yeah, it doesn't matter how good I am at doing this thing or that thing if I'm not being a pleasant person, which I've had plenty of streams where I'm just like downcast or kind of snippy, or never like outright cruel. I hope at least, but still just like kind of sarcastic and a nasty.
Your dark parts come out a little bit.
Yeah. And you've got to check those. You've got to get them out, which doesn't mean don't be real. You can still be real. You could be sad on stream, but you can't be a negative presence. There's a big difference, I think.
And so if you are, you really do need to cop up to it. People can see when you're not taking responsibility for your own behavior. Yeah. Mm-hmm. People can see when you're fronting, that kind of thing. I think being genuine, even if that means, just remembering you're always trying your best, and then keeping a real non-judgmental observation about yourself, and being willing to check yourself in that way and admit it to people.
I was just talking about this to my viewers, I think on yesterday's stream, that Twitch is honestly probably the best way I can think of to grow as a person if you are being honest with yourself, which I've had seasons on Twitch where I am, and I've had seasons on Twitch where I'm not. But what I mean by that is if you're really looking objectively at, okay, how am I coming across? Is this behavior or that behavior acceptable? Is it positive? Is it constructive, et cetera? Like if you're really looking honestly at the things that you do, it will show you, well, first of all, it'll show you things that are wrong with yourself, right? And ways that you need to improve. But also it'll show you things that are right with yourself that you didn't realize, or give you the courage to try things you wouldn't have otherwise. I think that's fairly obvious, but it's still important to say it. So like singing, for example, I never thought of myself as a singer before doing Twitch. Like I've been in choirs and I've done little bit things here and there. I did a couple musical theater shows in high school, stuff like that, but I never thought I was much good. And I never really did it. So there was no way to get better. You can only get better at something you're doing. But I started doing it a bit on Twitch, and there were people that really enjoyed it. So, then you have to sort of ride on their enjoyment. Even if you're not enjoying it, you can think, well, okay, I guess, if somebody likes it, I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. Or like my speaking voice, I used to be really self-conscious about until I started doing Twitch, and numerous people would say, oh, I really enjoy your speaking voice, which to me was just that was a foreign concept completely. So you'll learn that maybe things that you thought were wrong with you actually aren't, that's awesome. That's really encouraging. So you kind of have to be open to both ends of the spectrum.
I've always really admired your nostril, Trevor.
I know. Which one?
Just the left one. Just that one.
Right or left?
Just the left.
That one. It's just like perfect oval,
Thank you. Yeah,
apparently has a nice key light on it.
That's
perfect.
That's the Italian genes coming through.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
So while we're on this topic, I'm wondering, Dan and Doc, I think we should all weigh in a little bit. Maybe
the topic of
what are some things you've been faced with about yourself, maybe, and that you've helped overcome through streaming? And what are some things that you didn't realize were maybe good things, and that you've started to enjoy more about yourself or your talents, things you've grown, and things you've also had to sort of get over,
I'll go first, Doc. Doc's like
his face. He's like, I really got to think
about this. Very far away from the microphone.
Actually, I'm going to tell you all what I think is wrong with Doc. No, I'm just kidding. Nothing's wrong with Doc. I love Doc. Go ahead.
Well, for me, I have a very I try to please everybody kind of thing. If I'm out with friends and I'm just that personality, I want to make sure everybody's happy wherever we are, whatever we're doing. And with streaming at first, that's easy to do. Someone says, oh, I want to hear this song, or I want to do, can you play this? It's like, yeah, okay, cool. Yes, let's do this. Let's do that. And then it got to a point where it was exhausting to try to make everybody happy, to where my song queue, when I finished the stream, still had 20 songs in there. Yep. And it still does,
we
I'm
know those feels.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm I gotta go now. I can't. And that was really hard. I just don't
want to do this.
That was really hard for me. And that was something I had to get over. You know what? when I start the stream, I can't like be rushing through songs. I can't be ignoring people because I feel like I have to play this song for somebody. Right. And
yeah,
that was something that I still kind of struggle with that, like you create relationships with these people, and I sometimes feel like I'm letting them down,
Oh yeah, you're not alone. I was talking to a couple folks at TwitchCon about this very thing, how there had been periods where they'd gone through Twitch dry spells because through their point system or through some other method, somebody had requested for them to learn a song, and they just kept putting it off. They just didn't want to do it, and they weren't being honest with themselves, and they stopped showing up because they said, I stopped wanting to push start stream because I didn't want to show up and disappoint people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just gonna say, I'm for me, it's been a matter of the challenge of I always want to have learned a song really, really well before I do it. And people will say, well, can you just try this song? Or they'll make suggestions. And for me, I want to know it inside and out. I want to be able to close my eyes, throw my head back, and own it before I let anybody else hear it. I don't even sing around my house. People are like, oh, your wife must love hearing you sing all the time. No, I don't even sing around the house. I'm actually not really that comfortable singing right in front of somebody. It's kind of a weird thing.
I get it.
But that's part of why, though, is because I want to have it just right before I present it. And I've not only have learned that's a really big issue, that to be successful in Twitch and to connect with the people that are going to love me anyway, that core group.
Yeah,
I've got to be willing, because they don't care. They don't care if I have it down just right. They just want to hear me give it a try. Just give it a try, Doc. We want to hear it. And of course, I'm blush red. My face is like on fire, trying some goofy song that I've probably always wanted to learn but never really learned. I've got to get past that, and I think I've gotten, compared to last year when I only had 4 songs. When I started, I had 4 songs on my song list. That was it. And I was like,
that's all you would play on Twitch, is those 4?
That's all I would sing. I would improv and play other little instrumental stuff.
Just play blues and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But to actually play and sing something, I was like, I don't know that one. I don't know that one. So I've had to get past that a little bit. That's been I think for me, a big challenging thing is just to realize they're going
to go from 4 songs to where you are now, that's huge growth, man. That's awesome.
Thanks, and like you said, that's a huge point to make, that the people who are going to love you anyway. These folks, it's more about just showing up and seeing a concert. For them, it's a lot about the experience and watching you grow and watching you be in your element. It's very enjoyable for them to do that. My channel is sort of the opposite. I started my channel mostly just joking around, pulling up chords on the fly. I didn't have anything prepared. And just trying, there was a long time I couldn't go through one song without messing up every time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was just constantly messing up. So for me, the dedicating to being like, okay, I'm willing to perform and not just improvise or quote practice. All it was for the first year was probably just extended practice. And then for me to have to apply that, to performance was a lot more.
It's funny. As Doc was describing that, I was thinking I am literally exactly the opposite of that. So what I mean by that is first of all, like you're saying, Steph, it's on the fly is my preference, but it goes further than that. There's also this idea in my head that if I do polish something and really have it ready as a package and claim it as something that I really know, I see the expectation as so much higher. It
has to be perfect,
if I say,
right?
Yeah, if I say this is a song I know and then I screw it up, that sucks. But if I say I've never seen this before in my life, look at this great attempt at it. Like
I know, then I'm impressive, right?
You can't fault anything with that. That's part of why I feel so comfortable doing like audition accompaniment for Disney. That's one of my main gigs aside from Twitch, because it's these singers bringing in their own folder with whatever songs they've found from who knows where, plopping it in front of me, and we just go for it. Who could expect me to play it perfectly? So then if I do play it perfectly, oh man, I'm great, right? Like it's what an ego boost is that? Yeah, well, sometimes it's just because it's a really easy song, or I've seen some of them before. Actually, most of them at this point I've seen, but I find that to be far less pressuring. Although I'd imagine Doc can relate to that in that you really like to improvise and do like jazzy stuff or bluesy stuff or whatever, and you can probably relate to feeling less pressure doing that because there's no expectation that you're going to play one note or another note next.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That's
and even
the best.
even songs that I sing, I play it probably, as far as the exact notes that I probably play it different almost every single time.
Yeah, of course.
As long as
you
I'm on the
should.
right chord, for me,
As you should.
Yeah, for me, it's a matter of getting the timing of the words down and the melody right, and making sure I can nail the vocal. The keyboard stuff, man, I'll goof around and improv on the keyboard all day long.
Yeah.
But I hate to take a song and be like in the middle of singing a line of a song, and then I go to the wrong note because I don't know it.
Sure.
It's like,
well, that makes sense.
I'm realizing that some of the stuff that I do, this is going to sound arrogant, but I mean it sort of the opposite way. Some of the stuff that I'm doing on Twitch probably is not very relatable for other streamers. For example, somebody might submit a lead sheet that they find of an Elton John song. I've never heard it in my life. I have no clue what the feel of it is, what the groove of it is, whatever. But I still have to play all the notes on the page and sing that written melody with like a written rhythm there, which is, now that I'm thinking about it, I've never really thought about it before. That's kind of a bizarre thing to perform a song, like a singer-songwriter song that I've never heard before once in my life. I'm probably doing it completely wrong.
Oh,
Sometimes maybe I'm doing it right. Who knows? And the viewer who submitted it will say like, "Oh yeah, that sounds like kind of like the right idea." I have no idea, and odds are I never will listen to it. So I just did like did like a drive-by of a song by well, I was going to say Boston, but I actually do know Boston music. I'll just do, a drive-by of an Elton John song or a Beatles song or whatever that I've never heard before in my life and I never will hear, but I just performed it. That's weird. That's really weird.
It's called talent, Trevor.
Well, maybe. To check how well I did, and then then we'll talk. It's like trying to think what to compare it to. It's almost like painting a picture with a blindfold on or something, and then you take the blindfold off and see how you did. That's what would happen if I listened to the real thing, but I just never take the blindfold off. I prefer to keep it on.
Well, speaking of genius and your musical endeavors, you have a big project that is nearing completion that I really want to hear about.
Yes, it is. So I assume you're talking about my theme song. So one of the things I've been doing a lot on Twitch, like Doc mentioned at the very beginning, is writing little jingles and theme songs and away music for other streamers. Away music meaning like when they go to the bathroom or whatever, they can leave that playing. So I've done a few that have been pretty popular. Doc's is one of the most taking care of some shiz. Yes, you all know it. So some of them have been pretty popular. That one and Beetle at Bay. There's a video somebody tweeted. One of Beetle at Bay, she's a crochet streamer. One of her viewers tweeted a video of her like nanny cam on her little girl. I guess she's like 2 or something. It's hard to tell. But her at night time, she's going to bed and she's sitting there by herself in her room singing the Beetle at Bay Away song.
Oh,
she's
how does
singing,
it go?
That one's Beetle at Bay is currently away. She might be eating supper or maybe petting puppers, but she'll be back real quick with her little crochet sticks, and then she'll make some tasty yarn delights. So that's
catchy.
The basic. It is catchy. It's almost obnoxiously
catchy. You should enter a jingle writing contest.
Yeah, we should do that and win. The joke is that we did. We did that together. But anyway, so I've been doing these jingles for other streamers, and it's super fun and whatever. So I was like, wait a minute, why don't I have my own? So actually, this all started like in March or so. It started a while ago. I wrote this theme song for myself back in March. Recorded like a really rough demo of it. I just did like, some digital keys on it, some orchestral sample stuff. At some point I should share with the world what it sounded like in March. It was garbage. I mean, it was so bad. But the tune was there. The lyrics were there. The chords were mostly there. I made some tweaks. But then I sort of set it aside for a while. I had like some bigger ideas for it. Like I wanted to get some guests on it and stuff. But it was a little vague. I never had a deadline for it. I kept like sort of pushing back in my head when I wanted to do it. And then I decided this fall, I think it was like September, just out of the blue. Well, because I started doing more jingles. I did a few for pay, like as commissions. And I've still got a few on the docket that I need to do. But I decided just out of the blue, I want a real orchestra on this thing, and I'm just going to do it. Like I'm not going to sit around thinking about it. I'll do a donation goal for it, which I did, and the way that I hit the donation goal was very cool. I'll tell you about that in a sec, but I didn't wait till I hit the donation goal. I just said, I'm going to do this. So to get a full orchestra for a half hour in Budapest is about $1,000, which is that's nothing.
Yeah,
that is. I mean, $1,000 to me, Trevor, the individual, is a lot of money. $1,000 for a full orchestra to record a song.
And how many musicians is in a full orchestra?
It's about 60.
Yeah, that's
wow.
That's staggeringly cheap.
How do these people eat?
I think it's just because they're in Budapest and things are cheaper. Well, and so I only have them for a half hour, but then other composers have half hour slots. I could pay for multiple half hours if I wanted, or I can even hire them for the full day, which is more like 6,000 or something like that. I don't know. It's very cool though. I've used this service for multiple things, and I really enjoy working with them. So you just record via Skype. Like I get on Skype, I'm listening to them, and then I type like text chat with the person running the session. So anyway, I just pulled the trigger on that thing. I decided I'm going to do this, and consequences be damned. I'm just going to see what happens. And then I'll make a video to go with it, and I'll release it when I can. First I was shooting for December, and it just wasn't realistic, so kept pushing it back a little bit. The way that I ended up hitting the donation goal was incredible. There's a streamer named Syndicate. He's a big British streamer. He does a variety of things. Does like vlogging and Minecraft and all kinds of different stuff, but he's one of the biggest at one point I think he was ranked the #1 biggest streamer on Twitch. I don't know by what metric, but still that's amazing. Yeah. And he does this thing where he sends all his viewers to watch somebody's stream, but he keeps streaming and shows their stream embedded on his, like, and comments on it, basically. I've seen a few people do that, but I think he's probably the biggest one to do it. So he did that and sent like 1,000 people were suddenly watching me, and then I found out later 5,000 were still watching him watch me. So there were like 6,000 people watching me at once, which, a year ago that concept would have just blown my mind, and now like I'm ready for this. I've trained for this moment. And then I had this donation goal set up for the orchestra thing, and I was sort of wary about that goal from the start, because it's like, how do I describe the significance of this to viewers? Like, what, this doesn't mean anything to them that I'm recording an orchestra for a theme song. What does that mean? And I had hit about 200 out of 1,000 on it. And so this guy Syndicate on his channel, I didn't see any of this happening. He tells everybody, let's hit that goal. Let's hit the goal right now. And so in about 20 minutes, the donation goal got an additional $900.
Wow.
In about 20 minutes. It was just staggering. It was 72 different donations.
What were the comments like on those donations?
I don't know that I read all of them. I read most, but I was like, sort of still, my head was spinning.
That's a lot.
Their heads must have been
in.
spinning.
And
to
what?
see that on Twitch, and you know what I mean? A lot of people don't know music is on Twitch. Nonetheless,
right.
This guy's crowdfunding to rent an orchestra.
Yeah, I like that phrasing, rent an orchestra.
Yeah, rent an orchestra.
That's basically what it is. No, that's basically what it is.
I don't know.
Record, I don't know. Yeah, rent actually makes perfect sense. That's good.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention, I still haven't watched his VOD of him watching me. People told me about it, and a lot of my viewers went and watched his, but I keep forgetting. Apparently he was just like flipping out because I was playing whatever he suggested, because he was typing into my chat like, hey, what about this? And so he wanted like the song Neapolitan Dream by Lisa Mitchell. I don't know. I'd never heard of her. So it's like a meme on his channel, I guess. And so I just like popped it open, and it had a glockenspiel part in it. And lo and behold, I have a little toy glockenspiel sitting on my piano. I just started playing exactly what the glockenspiel part was, and playing like the chords with my left hand. And he was just flipping out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that happened. But anyway, this back to the main point, this theme song. So currently what I'm doing is making a video for it, the likes of which the world has never seen, and once it does, it'll wish it hadn't, probably.
I mean, you made a trailer for this thing.
The preview of it alone is awesome.
I've been getting more into video stuff. I kind of know what I'm doing. Editing's actually really fun. Where I struggle is more like lighting and stuff like that, and I'm figuring it out. But so I don't feel much pressure, because I never claimed to be good at this stuff. See, that's the key. If you don't,
that's the key. You just do your best
claim to be
and have
good
fun.
at something. Yeah, exactly. It's a new skill. But yeah, I'm making a video that's going to sort of like capture the flavor of the channel and this. I've been sort of creating a narrative and like lore associated with my channel. I'm not kidding. There are these characters now that are a vital part of the channel, like Trevorius J. Portugal, my ancestor, the old-timey equivalent. Most recently before him was Larry Gomez, my uncle.
Was that the 80s one?
That was the 80s, yeah.
Oh, okay. Those are some great imagery.
Yeah, and Larry Gomez, that was, when I had a mustache. He's got some severe anxiety, and he's very, mellow, and he's just really nervous to be on the internet.
I mean, the photos, your promo photos for going live.
Can you hook us up with an interview with him? That would be amazing.
Oh, we would. Yeah,
it's so cringeworthy, though, guys.
I can totally do that. It'll be almost like I don't know, what I'd imagine a therapy session with somebody that has multiple personalities.
Oh my goodness.
Would be like, you should just do an interview with all of the characters from 88-bit music.
I mean, this kind of thing is just amazing because it goes to show that you can really kind of follow what makes you tick.
Oh, yeah.
And it can be, once you have people that support you, it could be the most bizarre, out of left field. Larry Gomez.
Yeah, Larry Gomez, Trevorius J. Portugal, Captain Trevbeard.
Renton Orchestra.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Twitch what makes you tick?
I keep saying this, and like I worry that it sounds like it's like a notice me senpai kind of thing to Twitch, but what I keep saying is Twitch really is a platform where you can do anything, and I'm not saying that to like butter them up, because it's like sort of both to their credit and not to their credit, because you get all sorts of just crap on Twitch.
I mean, they can't police every single thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I love about Twitch and what they've done so well is create a amazing blank slate for creativity. Yeah. I think that Twitch has more potential in a field like music or whatever than it does in anything else for creative pursuits. Though you could totally marry those ideas with gaming, which I think a lot of streamers have done. They've gotten very creative with how they do gaming, so that you can merge that with it. But I don't see it as a gaming platform. I see it as a television network.
So and it's become more so, with this recent $90 million Overwatch League exclusive rights purchase
I didn't hear about
was in the news in this past couple days.
With
other things like having
the esports broadcasting.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Also things of like I think the women's NBA or something of that nature, NHL. I forget. There were, so they've awesome. Purchased sporting, rights to broadcast sports. Now they've got, my husband turned it on today and it was like, what the heck was that noise? It was like newscasting. It seemed like there was some news, show on. Bob Ross. All of these, I mean, it really is becoming more than just you go in your bedroom, you turn on a webcam. It's legitimizing independent broadcasting too by providing a platform for more than just independent broadcasting.
I think Twitch is a prototype for what TV will be in the future. That I'm confident in that. I don't know how long it'll take, and I don't know that it will be Twitch. It could be something else. But how much more compelling is TV where the audience can so easily interact with each other and interact with the people doing it. Though obviously, if it's like a TV show, like a sitcom or whatever, it's not like the cast can interact with the audience. Then again, why not? You could have shows like that. I mean,
if the cast is among the chat, as when they recently did, what was it? When they did Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, they had some folks that had done set design or production on that were moderating the chat and were able to, tell people little snippets of in this episode blah blah blah, and
that's so stinking cool.
Exactly. So I agree with you completely about the potential, and I think that's all the more reason that folks have got to step up their game with original content and getting more creative with their content.
I loved what the one of the Twitch like bosses, whatever, like the big guy at TwitchCon, I made it into the keynote. And the coolest thing I think I heard them say...
Yeah, good for you, Doc. I know you made it in.
I had to elbow people to get in there,
I was standing in that arena with like Seth and some other people watching it on the screen.
I had to wiggle my way in there. But it was one of the coolest things I heard said about Twitch, and it came from the guy at the top. He said, we've created it, we've built it, and you've showed us how to use it. Speaking to the streamers and the viewers, he said, we've built this thing, but you've showed us how to use it, and you're showing us how to use it.
Yeah, and how could it be any other way? You couldn't have Twitch staff and the people that engineered Twitch and built it from the ground up. They could not possibly predict how everything's going to go and build it accordingly. That it's just simply not possible. Yeah. So you need the millions of viewers showing you what works and what doesn't and what they want. And I think Twitch listens decently well from what I've seen. I don't think they don't seem to have their heads in the sand for the most part. I'll see people complain about this or that, but I think on a basic level, it seems like they're doing it right because it works for me. Like it's giving me the resources that I need to do the things I want to do, whether or not.
Yeah, they're always improving on things. That's the thing,
right?
You know, if it was like a year with just like the same interface and the same options, you know, they're always rolling out new things and they're keeping it fresh. So that is a huge thing for a company.
I respect that a lot about them, and my interactions personally with the staff have been great. But I don't know a ton about the inner workings.
I think the delicate balance that Twitch might want to find is balancing the monetization features with other features that might need work. You know, because there's always going to be a motivation to monetize in different ways, and they've rolled out a lot of different ways to monetize, to their credit, and you know, it definitely benefits us as broadcasters. Sure, benefits them as a platform to roll out all those new features. Like, you know, some people may have not been around before cheering. And now there's the sub tiers and gift subscriptions and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, there are areas that still need attention: the messaging system, other types of discoverability, you know, some of the sorting things on the app and things like that. These are things that I think they'll get to, but I feel as though the frustration I see among the community and broadcasters can kind of rise when it gives the perception that they're placing more of an emphasis on focusing on the development of monetization features and less on those other types of
things. And they very clearly are. I mean, if you look at new updates to Twitch, if you look at their announcements about what's coming, etc., it's very much about monetization. And without, like, you know, getting into a conversation on the merits of capitalism, I think that's I think they're doing it right in a sense, right? You know, it's like Disney or any other entertainment company. It makes perfect sense for them to put their emphasis on. I mean,
they need the resources to stay relevant.
Well, and it's not everybody. It's not NPR. You know, it's not the National Endowment for the Arts or whatever. So, you know, I've heard a lot of people on the creative side complaining about the fact that creative isn't promoted more, and I get that. I can totally relate, and I kind of wish we were promoted more. But if we're not making them more money, why? You know, why should they bother? And so that just means even more so that we have to make stuff that will get people's attention. Just cram it down their throats. Make the coolest possible things and make it obvious what we're doing is awesome. Like we don't, and then that says we don't even need Twitch's help. We'll just do it ourselves. Like, look at what Doc is doing with this retreat,
music retreat, which we got to talk about today. By the way,
he didn't need help to make that happen. I mean, he needed help from other musicians and stuff, but he didn't need help from Twitch. Though, you know, they've responded positively to it. It seems.
Something has happened in the last few days, though. Regarding discoverability, first, at least from computer, from desktop, from like a browser, I noticed, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that the music category, when you just hit browse, the music category now was in like the top 12 things. It was like near the top of the screen.
Even though it's not actually the 12th most watched? Like they bumped it manually?
I don't know. I didn't look at all the numbers, but I did notice that it was there, and I was like, oh. And then my last two streams, I've had a good handful of brand new people come in and say, I was just browsing and just found your channel. I had no idea this was here. I'm so glad I found your channel. I'm like, this is the first time I've heard that since I've been streaming, and it's been my last two streams.
I have a couple questions about that. Do you stream in the channel music specifically?
Yep.
Not creative, not IRL, but music?
I stream under music and in the music community both. Music still shows up under the creative category.
Right, but it's also its own thing.
But it's also its own thing.
It's kind of like
it does still show up in creative.
Yeah,
It does.
if you
Yeah,
click
yeah,
on
yeah.
creative,
Oh.
you can then under creative you can
There's
look
still
at
a drop. Yeah, it's still a
almost like
subcategory.
it's almost like New York with like the boroughs. Like I've never understood how the like different parts of New York are their own cities, but they're not, but they are, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's very interesting. I've been streaming in IRL. Which a lot of music streamers started doing that when IRL came about, and it's simply because there are more people browsing it.
Yeah, there's like 40,000 viewers. You know, it's like the
Yeah.
5th or 6th most watched category last year.
I'd rather
Yeah.
be in music and make it really clear to people that that's the main thing I'm doing. But I'm going to go. I think this is just natural for a lot of people. I'm going to go wherever the most people are browsing, and I am allowed to be there. Because IRL apparently is legitimate. You can do that as a musician. It's okay. And also, I think there are a lot of elements to what I'm doing that are not just music related. It's comedy in a sense, or or just chatting with people. So there's some truth to it.
The
but that's very
quality
interesting.
of those browsers is what struck me. These new people weren't trolley people goofing around.
Oh
going,
no! If they're
you know what I'm
browsing
saying?
music, they're not going.
They're
to
looking
be,
for music.
They were
They're
looking
going
for
to
music,
music to click
and
on
they
music.
found it a lot easier than they have in previous months. Like I'm
That's
telling you,
really
these
good
last
to
two
know.
streams, I
Yeah.
was like, oh wow,
It's really good to know.
Well,
so-
now
No,
next
I
time
know what you mean. Yeah.
Next time you go on there, though, if you see music that high up, look at the numbers, because I'm very curious if music had the 12th most people watching of anything, that would be incredibly bizarre.
What? For instance, my husband, he was on mobile, and he was the one who pointed out the sorting by relevancy, and particularly sorting by language relevancy, which was what was knocking
interesting.
it down so far, because music is a very diverse category.
Right.
A lot of the viewers are very diverse if they have other languages selected, or if the broadcaster has a different language selected that they broadcast in. That would automatically kind of drop it down. So it would be like, for instance, this one day it had more than 8,000 viewers. It should have been a lot higher up there, but it was 48th. And it was number 48 instead of number 12, where it should have been.
Yeah.
Behind
I think they've
other
adjusted
categories
that.
that had 2,000 or 3,000, other gaming categories that had 2,000 or 3,000 viewers.
There were
it was
8,000
dropped
people
very low.
specifically watching music, not just creative.
There were
Music.
yesterday. There was like
That's-
8,600.
That's awesome.
Seriously.
Yes,
Oh, that's-
music
that's-
is a lot more popular than people have
That's
been
more
making it
than-
out to be. Some days there's
Yeah.
2,000 or 3,000, but the thing is, the sorting, just like Doc says, that sorting, that discoverability, that's our bread and butter if we want to build within music.
Yeah. Well, and Twitch will follow the numbers. I think if more and more people start watching music, they'll put more into it.
One would
can't see
hope,
why
but we
they
also have to keep in mind these potential issues. We don't know. Nobody's confirmed. Nobody's said anything. Some folks have tried to reach out and get front page time in the past and been told they needed to be concerned about, copyright claims and stuff like that. So I suspect that a lot of this copywriting stuff might be a barrier on Twitch's part.
Copyright
And I
meaning-
suspect that as more people have more original content.
Yeah. Are you referring to performing covers of other songs?
Yes.
Yeah,
and also
that's
playing
so
that in the
complicated.
background of a stream
Oh,
or,
well, yeah,
whatever.
I think
both
that,
of them.
That makes a little more sense, and that's why VODs get muted for portions. Though even with them doing that, it's possible that a lot of what's going on with using copyrighted music is just illegal. But as I understand it, there's the majority of like music covers on YouTube are technically illegal.
Yeah.
The question is just if anybody cares.
They just have a
Typically.
formal way that they can
Yeah.
choose to share monetization. If it's monetized, they can choose to, I'll get a flag sometimes if I don't do a lot of YouTube stuff, but I have done covers in the past, and I'll get a notification from YouTube that says, hey, this is a copyrighted material. You're not in trouble. That's okay. But I have to go to my monetization settings,
Turn it off,
and clarify,
they'll
or
turn it off.
share it. Not turn it off, but just
Oh,
basically
interesting. Okay.
indicate that. So they have agreements worked out in kind of a formalized system.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll just take the audio off or whatever, and it won't even give you the option, depending
So that
on
would
what
be
the
like
song is.
mechanical licensing, right? It's just like these are the numbers. They're going to get this. You're going to get this.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy. Like it's really straightforward. I think it depends on the song for that. I've had to deal with that as far as like Nintendo and stuff goes, because
Yeah.
there's certain music you can use and certain you can't for albums. I mean,
But that might be like the dark cloud of ambiguity kind of hovering over.
yeah, I wonder
these
how much Twitch
guidelines,
cares. I'm sure they they probably care proportionally to how much trouble they can get in, right? That's how much they're going to care. They'll get away with what they can. I don't know as far as front page stuff goes, I haven't
just musing. People have been on the front page doing it recently. Just thoughts I've thrown out there that I've considered before.
I haven't yet been blessed by the front page angel, but at some point, although actually, maybe you mentioned this at the beginning, I can't remember, but I'm being featured today.
I was just going to say.
Congratulations.
Twitch Weekly. Yeah, so I actually can't stay a whole lot longer. I need to do some prep because they stream 1 to 2 my time, and it's about 11.
For Twitch Weekly.
Yeah, for Twitch Weekly. And then toward the end, they'll play the video that I made. I was up till 3 a.m. on Wednesday making a video for them. So they'll play it toward the end. And then the plan is they're going to raid me. I suppose it could always change last minute. I don't know because there's a lot of big gaming stuff
they'll probably. If they told you they would, I'm guessing they're going to.
Yeah, they said that's the plan. So I'm preparing for that so I can give them a good show.
Congrats, man. It's so well
done.
Well, I'm pretty pumped about that. But I mean, I owe it pretty much entirely to Doc because the way that went was Doc just sent a message to the guy that puts that together and said, like, hey, you should consider this guy, right? Just mention me to him, basically. And within like minutes, they asked me to do it.
Awesome.
So that's that's another important element is us having each other's backs, right?
Heck yeah.
And if you aren't sure what they're talking about exactly, what they're referring to is the creative spotlight on Twitch Weekly.
Yeah, should have mentioned that.
Where they spotlight a creative broadcaster, and they'll play a little video that you've put together, kind of talking about your channel, and then sometimes they'll actually go and host and raid that person directly after the show.
Twitch Weekly, clarify something for me. It's not just about creative. It's about anything, right? Anything
no,
going
it's
on.
It's about Twitch as a whole. It's like a news program for Twitch, the weekly
actually,
kind of thing.
And they do a creative spotlight every single time or just as often as they can? Or do you know? Is it pretty much every time?
I couldn't tell you exactly.
It's every time.
I know they do it quite often. Yeah,
but regardless, I think that's a sign that they very much do care about creative because they don't have to do that. Why would they do that?
And they tried very early on when creative first launched. They tried, so they were even talking about this in Drop Frames, Co-Carnage and all those folks. They were talking about how Twitch very much wanted creative to have a lot of success, It just didn't take off quite the way that opening the gates of IRL, did.
Right. And I think there are lots of reasons for that. You'd have to get into like some pretty deep
that's a whole other discussion.
You'd have to get into some more like philosophical stuff and like what people enjoy most and like sort of mass consumption of like crap.
And how it just made its way around the internet based on some reasons that they even got some negative press, but it got people talking so people were aware it was happening. And the implications and the hot button issues surrounding IRL, I feel like just sort of skyrocketed it up to the most watched categories because people were curious, right? What is this? What's going to be here?
Well, people are going to go to what they enjoy most. And if that's video games, it's what they're going to go to. There's just no way around that. That's reality. And that doesn't bring me down. I think that's fine. If that's what they want to watch, then fine. That's good.
One of the other cool indicators to me that they may be making stronger pushes for exposure for music as well is that yesterday, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Papercat84. He's a music streamer from Spain. To me, he's got one of the smoothest voices on Twitch. He sounds like Eddie Vedder. He's better than Vedder. He's just incredible. He's Spanish speaking from Spain, plays his guitar. For whatever reason, most of the time, Papercat won't have a huge audience. There will be maybe 12, 15, 20 folks hanging out maximum. Yesterday, though, I was like, dude is running. He was for hours. He was running like 80 or 90 people. And so I went and hung out in his chat for a little bit. I was like, what's going on, man? It looks like things are going great. And he said, apparently I'm on the front page of Twitch in my country.
In Spain.
Like for Spanish speaking. So I'm like, okay. So they went and selected a music stream. I mean, there's you guys know there's probably thousands of gamer streamers coming out of Spain.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's gamers all over the place. But they went and selected a musician, and it wasn't based on him being a partner. It was just
clearly, because it sounds like he doesn't even meet like what they typically say are the qualifications to be on front page. The sort of like ethereal,
like if you apply for it, they kind of say here's the benchmarks. But they were featuring him, and I was like, man, that is fantastic.
Well, and I think those benchmarks are essentially nonsense. It shouldn't be that way at all. They should put and I mean this even from a business standpoint. I think they should put on front page whatever they think is just going to do the best, like whatever people are going to get a kick out of the most, because then that makes front page a cooler thing, and it makes people more excited to see what's on front page. Like,
well, I think we know the staff
I think that's
are
a
always,
no-brainer.
you know, a lot of the times it's who the staff knows. Also, and I know that recently a partnerships person or some staff in Spain has become better acquainted with the music section. There are a couple staff members in the United States too that are huge supporters of music. And I remember for me, the first time I saw that wrench in my chat, I felt like, even though it was just one staff member, you know what I mean? Not just, but even though it, you know, I had never really gotten a lot of special treatment or promotion from Twitch before, having that wrench there meant a lot.
I didn't know
what made me feel legitimate.
I didn't know what the wrench meant, and I had a staff member watching me for like an hour talking with the chat, and I had no idea what it meant.
I thought I was in trouble first time I saw one in chat. I said, "Am I in trouble? Did somebody report me for being too nice or something?" Or
you were in trouble. It's just taking. You're getting suspended from Twitch. It's just taking a really long time for them to process. There are like a million emotes they need to approve before they can ban you.
So wait,
from
when
Twitch.
is this crazy theme song going to be out again? What do you have to do for that?
Before we talk about the retreat, I wanted
to February 16th. February 16th at 6 p.m. PST. I forgot. Sometime February 16th. On my channel, and I'm pushing Twitch staff to maybe give me a little help with that, but we'll see how that goes.
In the music community,
I've got some things in the works.
The music community as a whole, I think, really needs to rally behind you for this, because what you're doing has never been done before, and it's really going to showcase the potential of what.
That's exactly right. That's the whole idea, and you know, that's a big thing I want to do on Twitch, and I'm not alone in that. Is setting new standards. Like this is how far we can go, and actually, let's go even further. I have ideas for things I want to do in the future that would make this look like nothing.
An orchestra on the moon, right?
On the moon,
or producing an entire album on stream.
More than that.
I mean, that would be pretty cool too.
I mean, all I'll say for now, and this, I'm talking years down the road. 88-bit music, the musical.
Oh my goodness.
Let that stew in your brain and see what you.
Can I get a part as a?
Can I be Trevor?
Yeah. Can you be me? Oh well, because that's the other thing, is that you can get other people on your stream who are on other continents. Like my last Trevorius J Portugal stream, I had Jonathan Ong, Australian piano streamer, amazing streamer. He popped out from behind like a cabinet and sat at a table and was playing cards in the back of my stream, even though he's in Australia, because of the magic of green screen
technology.
Video. If you get creative with all that stuff, you can come up with all kinds of things. So he collaborated with me on that, so that he just like popped up in the back in this like saloon that I had set up for this old timey stream, and he's just sitting there in a big bow tie playing solitaire.
Amazing.
And like losing. He made a point of losing. Basically, I just want to see how far we can push this stuff. But I agree. I think this is something that I would actually encourage people to like rally behind.
Everyone,
and
mark your calendars. Cancel dinner with grandma.
Also, it's very collaborative too, right?
Well, they're for now that'll be a secret. The involvement of certain additional folks.
Okay. So we shouldn't talk about any of that in detail.
Yeah, not yet. All
right.
It's already
all the more reason to tune in, folks.
Yeah. You'll see. There may be some guest artists. Ooh. There may be a lot of guest artists. Although already, even without them, it's a 60-piece orchestra, full band. My roommate played like 8 percussion instruments on it. I played piano on it. I'm
just really quick. Shout out to your roommates again.
My roommates are
folks.
awesome. They put up with all my shenanigans. So that's Kevin, who's a percussionist. He has a master's in percussion performance, and he's been flying to New York regularly to like do drum teching for this artist who is just performing on the Colbert Show and like all this stuff. So he's flying all over doing this stuff. And then Robert, my roommate, who's going to Cal State Long Beach currently for a master's in conducting. He already has one master's in arts administration. Yeah. Now he's getting one in conducting. So it's a music house. I mean, the room I'm sitting in right now is a decent sized living room, and it's nothing but music. We have a grand piano, my digital piano, a drum set, a trombone, a violin, a clarinet, a flute. In another room, we've got a vibraphone and a marimba. This is it's a music house, as you guys know, since all three of you
we were at your house.
were here at various
TwitchCon.
points, including that party.
So this
anyway.
project, if you had to sum it up in one word,
why? That's the word.
That's fantastic.
Why? Oh, and
not?
I'm shameless about that. That's the entire point, is that it's overkill. Because why shouldn't one person making weird stuff on the internet have a theme song on the level of DuckTales and Pokemon and all that? Why not?
Why not?
That's so cool, and I want to do that for other people. That would be like, to do it on this level would be a very involved process, but I want to, and I've got the resources to do it. That's the thing. If you've got the resources, which is partially helped through viewers because of donations, but if you've got the resources, why not? Why not go way too far with it? And then I plan to use this to show other companies and people what I could do. Like, I'd love to do something along these lines for Twitch officially, like some silly Twitch Disney-ish theme song or whatever, because that's the genre of it. The style of this theme song is something along the lines of like a Disney cartoon or Disney movie mixed with like a sort of video gamey vibe, sort of Mario-ish. It's a little all over the place. Musical theater kind of plays into it a bit. It's really corny.
It's incredible. I mean, thank you very much for setting that bar a little higher, and thank you for the creative inspiration.
Well, yeah, we'll see how it plays out. The idea is then I'd use it to open my stream every time, and I think it's going to get a pretty positive response. I played the instrumentals only version of it for my audience at one point, and they loved it.
So no lyrical previews? Can we get a little preview? Just a little one?
Can you hear my piano?
Yeah.
You're good.
Wait. Oh, wait. Here, phantom power on, because it's all in the mixer right now. Oh, there we go. Oh, baby.
Let's go.
You hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's one line from it. 88-bit music is the place to be. That's it. That's all you get.
That's it. Well, we'll definitely have to tune in February 15th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 16th. February 16th. 6 p.m.
Yeah. That, and especially based on that thrilling preview, I'm sure everybody that listens to this
can't
is going to
wait.
turn out. No,
And you're in California, correct?
I am in California.
All
Yeah,
right,
that's
6
PST.
p.m. PST.
I am an LA boy, born and raised, though not really in LA. Not like in the city, but
With the
I don't think
woodwinds is where I
anybody
spend
in
most of
LA
my days.
is in LA. Like, there is no central.
gosh, there's no reason to be. That's I mean like the city. Like, I don't know. I don't know how the layout works. It's very complicated, but I'm elsewhere. I'll just say I'm closer to where TwitchCon.
Well, we're
was,
leaving though.
without
We're leaving
getting into
LA
specifics.
this week to go to
that's right.
a special
Yeah.
thing that I'd love to
I'm
hear.
doing an overnight flight Tuesday to Atlanta.
Fun times. Trevor, you mentioned your roommates in the music house, and that's actually, I was going to kind of use that as a segue to talk about what we've got going on this next week.
Yeah.
In our first couple of episodes that we did of this, it was shortly after TwitchCon, and one of the biggest things we all talked about, and even our first couple of guests, I think, talked about was
Everybody has.
the highlight of TwitchCon was being able to, even I think Vargon did, being able to connect with everybody at 88bit Music's house, for the party, the after party that we had.
That was a catalyst for a lot of things, I think.
It was. I know I came away from that. A lot of people came away from that party, which actually started as something that Dan was planning on doing at his place. And
that evolved very interestingly.
And then he was like, man,
though, because in
it's
my
like
head,
an hour away.
I said, I didn't, I'm like that pleasing person, right? Like, I don't want to let people down. And I'd been driving to TwitchCon. Friday, I'm driving down there, and then I'm driving home. I'm like, this drive sucks.
Well, your thought process probably was something like this: is like, oh, TwitchCon's in Southern California.
Yeah.
I'm in Southern California,
and I have like a huge room here, and guitars and drums and pianos, and I'm
but
like,
most of us didn't have cars or any knowledge of California.
Exactly.
Or
when I sent you that message saying, hey man, so like, I think I might host my own thing. If you want to join forces, that would be cool. I didn't know you at all at that point.
And I was
You
like,
didn't know how he was going to react, probably.
I was thinking like, am I like kicking this guy in the nuts by saying this? Like, I had no idea how that would go over. And then your response was basically like, oh gosh, thank you.
Because like people are tired from being at TwitchCon all day. And then I'm like, it's going to be best case scenario, an hour and a half drive. You know, I'm like, that's just going to suck.
And Trevor was literally like right there.
Yeah. And then
15 minutes away.
There was a lot of
work though.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because I was just going to say, Dan made it work because he did all the tech stuff for it.
Dan still engineered that thing.
Yeah.
He ran it.
Shout out to Robert, because I showed up. It was Sunday morning. I packed some stuff up and I got down there. You had to be at TwitchCon because you were performing.
Doing performing.
And you're like, my roommate will be there. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like knocking on the door. Robert opens the door and he has this look like, I think he was holding a rag. Like he'd been cleaning all morning.
He'd been cleaning, yeah.
He's like, are you Dan? And I'm like, yeah. He was so sweet.
He cleaned.
He's so sweet.
He cleaned all day.
Yeah.
For the record, I shared the spoils with him from the stream that we did that night. My roommates and I kind of all split it up because it paid for the pizza and this and that or whatever. But then I gave like a tribute to the roommates for dealing.
He put in so much work and it was fun hanging out with him. And he would come in. He's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." Like it was just so awesome and it worked out so well.
He's a boss.
It was so fun.
So that expectation, was on the front end because we had sort of told people we were looking at doing something at Dan's studio, and then it sort of short notice got changed over to Trevor's house. But I mean, we had 55, 60 people there for like 6 hours of streaming or something.
I counted only once, and there were 55 when I counted, but at least I'd say 10 more people showed up. So we were in the 60s. Yeah.
Yeah. So a full night. Everybody came away from that though saying, we've got to do this sooner than next year at TwitchCon. We've got to get together somehow.
What's most amazing to me is that the reason we all felt that, I think nearly every person there was feeling like we've got to do this again, like now, we have to. What's coolest to me about it is that the reason wasn't like because the benefits will be excellent, we will reap spoils. Like there was nothing mercenary about it. The reason that we all felt that way was just we wanted to be around each other again. Because for like an entire week after TwitchCon, I felt super depressed, and it was just because I'd gotten so attached to a bunch of people all at once, and then boom, they're just gone. Yeah. How depressing is that? And it's people that I'd been getting to know just sort of virtually, but how different is it when you're in the same room? It's so
that energy
cool.
was wild.
Oh, it was unreal. It was like just this little slice of heaven, and then we lost it all of a sudden. So immediately, Doc said we've got to
enter
make
Doc.
happen.
Yeah. Before TwitchCon, I had been talking with about 6 or 8 other streamers about doing a small together before TwitchCon, doing a small, just like 6 or 8, like just let's all go do some songwriting together in a cabin kind of thing was sort of, and I kind of knew that I had them like on board for the idea of doing something, but coming away from your house, it was like, okay, there's a lot of people that I think would love to do this. So let me expand my thinking here and go beyond a little cabin and maybe try to find a place where we could get more people in it. And that's why we even in the planning portion of the whole deal, we sort of layered it on that way. I started with that core group of people going, okay, are we definitely down? Could we do it at this time? And then now let me see if we can add a few more people, because if we get enough people, we can get a bigger place. Anyway, long story short, you guys have heard us talking about the music streamers retreat that's coming up. It is happening next week. I've encouraged you already to follow the Saving Music Live channel, because all of our primary streams, our big group streams, are going to be happening on the Saving Music Live channel on Twitch, and it will be for charity. So any donations that come through are going to go to the Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation, which we're excited to be able to support as a community. But there is one other quick thing. We did go ahead this past week and we created a music retreat community on Twitch, which means that all of the streamers that will be there, when they're streaming from their phones or their laptops or whatever during the weekend, during the retreat, they can stream under that community name, and it will all show up on one page on Music Retreat. So if you go to twitch.tv/communities twitch.tv/music retreat. You'll be able to see anybody who's live at that time. So there may be 2 people, there may be 5 people, but that way you don't have to miss any of the action of any of the things that are going on that weekend. So jump in there and celebrate with us. Have fun. By all means, if you enjoy what we're doing during those broadcasts, please feel free to be generous and donate towards the Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation. That's why we're doing the stream this way. But it is going to be a blast. There's going to be about 40 of us total, about 30 music streamers with a few significant others in this big lodge together, and I can't wait. I just can't wait.
Yeah. And you can follow communities. So make sure, go follow it right now, and then it'll show up in, what you're following.
You can community.
You can actually, if you go to that community page, you can actually hit follow, and it'll let you know. You'll be able to see.
I've just got to say, Doc, you have a great speaking voice, and you're really good at talking on the fly, so you should make a podcast or something.
Well, I'm glad to be a part of this podcast.
Seriously, what an articulate gentleman right there. He's just pulling these words out of the air. I'm looking at him, and I don't see a script, so I mean...
It's funny, too, because, Doc, I've noticed that a lot of times... You're very quiet on the podcast. You're a very good listener. You seem like you like to soak it in, and I admire that about
one
you.
One of the best traits for a host to have, I think.
Thanks, guys. Y'all are too kind. I'm blushing now.
I was going to say, cue blushing Doc.
Yeah.
Doc blush.
I think Stephanie asked the best questions on the podcast. Stephanie, I don't know if you've got them planned, but it seems like while somebody's talking, as soon as they finish, you're like, well, explain this thing you just said. And it's just like, yeah, I wish I could have thought to ask that.
I went to broadcasting school. That was, I was a reporter, so I enjoyed that aspect of it a lot, but I have to learn to be quiet too. So
this is the part of the podcast where we all just compliment each other.
Yeah. This is just
Dan has some really good looking wind chimes right there.
Listen, a lot of people may not realize it. But
yeah.
Dan, this is Dan's baby. I've had people
the wind chimes
assume, the wind chimes. That was an ugly birthing process, and it was loud. But no, I've actually had people that are like in my more sort of from my community, almost assume maybe that I started the podcast or something because I'm a part of it, because I've been involved in a lot of stuff, and I just want to make sure people know I actually didn't. Dan very graciously approached me and said, hey, I've got an idea. I've got this thing I'd love to do. I think it'd be great for the community. Would you be willing to be a part of it? And I'm glad to be a part of it and help in any way. And I know, Dan, you don't do it for the credit, but I want to make sure people know this was Dan's baby. This was his brainchild, his idea. And I'm just humbled, man, that you thought of me to be able to be a part of it. And it's exciting to join in.
You guys have been there since the beginning. Like, I had the idea what I wanted to do, but we were throwing out ideas for what to call it forever. It's all of us collectively. There,
What a thought that the most creative things happening associated with Twitch are coming out of the creative side of Twitch, right? what a concept. Because things like this retreat and this podcast and the streamer magazine that Charlie does and like
theme
all
songs.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. I mean, just all sorts of great, crazy things are being made. And I see, in terms of quality and excellent content, I see the creative side and the music side of Twitch just blossoming right now. Yeah. And I think the best times are very much ahead of us, and they're soon, right? I think we're entering some sort of renaissance with Twitch music stuff. And the sky's the limit. There really is. There's no ceiling on this thing.
TwitchCon this year, as soon as we find out the location, I've already talked to a good handful of people. I'm going to find a venue, a legit venue. If we need to do a door fee or door charge, whatever, cover charge to get in to cover the place, a straight up venue where we can invite as many music streamers and viewers that are going to be at TwitchCon to come and have our own music community after party with performances.
So after the whole convention is over.
After the convention's over.
That's best for sure.
Yeah, where we can legit say, look, we can take 150 or 200 people at this thing. We can perform while we're there because it's a legit venue. It's going to take a lot of work, but I think that I think we're ready for it already. Just from this retreat, there are people going, "Oh man, I wish I had known," or "I wish you had more space," or "I wish I could have afforded it," or whatever. So
down the road, we need our own convention. I think obviously that's not too ridiculous of an idea. I think the retreat is sort of like almost feels like a prototype for something like that.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
It could be a while.
Hone in our organization skills too, because going into TwitchCon, it might be really beneficial for us to say, hey, we've got X number of musicians who are going to be on the premises. We've got ensembles ready to provide entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, the TwitchCon boat party didn't have music. Hey.
Yeah.
Hello.
Why do we not have a little jazz trio or something?
Well, we've got to make it happen. We've got to let them know that we're there, we're prepared, we're ready.
Unionizing.
Yes.
we're doing
this
it.
is a
massive effort. No, thank you. That's a slippery slope.
No, it's exciting to see what's going to happen. But Doc, really quick,
we're going on strike. Yeah. Can you imagine a Twitch musician strike? That would just be a disaster. Nobody would care. Anyway.
Doc, can you just really quick before we close out, can you let people know the first official broadcast from the retreat that will be on Saving Music Live, the time maybe?
Yes. In fact, give me just a second. Let me pull it up. You may have to edit out a quick
yeah, take your time.
Dan, forgive me.
Well, in the meantime, please follow us on Twitter. If you're not already following the Twitter account here, the Music Community Podcast at the Music Compod. Is that what it is, Dan?
Or just type in the Music Community Podcast on Twitter. It'll pop up.
What is the exact account called?
The Music Compod.
Yeah, I found it fast because you follow me on Twitter. Okay, and I'm
Should we get that follow back, yo?
Yeah, I just did
that follow button.
I recognize that picture at the top too.
Yeah, and please feel free to tweet questions, tweet comments about the podcast, content you might want to hear, up and coming streamers or established streamers that you'd really like to see interviewed. All that feedback would really help drive future content.
And I've had streamers, music streamers hit me up and say, I've actually used the podcast to show people what Twitch music is. That's what I want. I want people to see us as a growing community, and if you can share it with anybody that's not on Twitch, that maybe have no idea what music on Twitch is all about, share it with your friends and your grandma, all your friends.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, for our first official stream from the music retreat is going to be January 18th. That is a Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. This first stream is going to be cooking and music. So LT Chicken has a team of people that are going to be preparing a big taco bar that we're going to have a big dinner together that Thursday night. That everybody's arriving. And so while he's cooking, we're going to have some streaming going on. We may have people come through from our musicians with acoustic guitars and sing a song. It's just literally going to be almost IRL in nature, but it's going to be with maybe not all, but most of your favorite music streamers. And it's just going to be a fun time. So that's going to be Thursday at 6 p.m. The next day, January 19th at 4:30 is when we're having our big showcase stream. That's going to be all music and everybody has songs prepared, epic collabs, all of that kind of stuff. It's going to be really cool. Yes. So that's what to look forward to. There's other streams happening during the weekend. Those are probably the big two. Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern and Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern.
Sweet.
Rock and roll.
Well, I think I got a jet man. To get ready for this.
Before you do, where can we find you online?
Me?
Yeah.
Where can you find me? Well, the best place
Twitter,
is
Twitch. Where are you?
Twitch.tv/88bitmusic. The number 8, like on the top of the keyboard where the numbers are. 88bitmusic. On Twitter, I'm 88bittv at 88bittv. And that YouTube, I don't even know. I'm something. I don't have that many videos yet, so I'm not like pushing that one too hard. But eventually, I'd like to start doing like weekly arrangements.
Cool. Twitter and Twitch, we got you.
Twitter and Twitch, those are the big ones.
And then February 16th, mark your calendars, 6 p.m.
Yes,
Pacific time. But Trevor, thank you for being here and chatting with us. You got a big day today, so I really appreciate you chatting with us before it all kicks off. But that's so exciting, man. I hope it's like explosively crazy exciting.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. I'll try and bring my A game, play some nerd music, the stuff those nerds
And
like.
guys, I'll see you soon.
A
few days.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
On the screen for our
my
podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna do our first video version of this, which is very exciting. Everyone, rest up.
Awesome.
That was a stretch.
We'll do it.
I was stretching. Not what he said was a stretch. I mean, the reason I sounded weird was I was stretching. Okay, I'm gonna leave now.
Guys, thanks
Have a
again
great
for
day.
listening,
Bye, Trevor.
and we
Bye.
hope to see you all in the Saving Music live stream for the weekend retreat. So,
And thanks for having me on, guys.
You're welcome. See you.
all right, bye guys.
Bye.
Doc Bizzle's taking care of some shit, so he's got stuff to do. Stuff to do. But if you just hang tight, he'll make you feel alright when he gets back to you. Back to you. He's gonna play you all of those tasty tunes. It won't be that long. He's gonna be real soon that he gets back to you. That he gets back to you, back to you. Doc Bizzle's taking care of some shit, so he's got stuff to do, stuff to do. But if you just hang tight, he'll make you feel alright when he gets back to you, back to you. He's gonna play you all of those tasty tunes. It won't be that long. He's gonna be real soon that he gets back to you, back to you. That he gets back to you, back to you.
Doc Bizzle is filmed in front of a live studio audience. The views expressed by Doc Bizzle do not necessarily represent those of Twitch, so if you're offended, you should probably just go ahead and jump in a bucket. Any similarity to real people or situations is entirely warranted, because Doc Bizzle is in fact a real person in a real situation.
Doc Bizzle's taking care of some shit, so he's got stuff to do, stuff to do. But if you just hang tight, he'll make you feel alright when he gets back to you, back to you. He's gonna play you all of those tasty tunes. It won't be that long. He's gonna be real